looks like we're good to go. Welcome back to yet another Moonshire Monday. Thank you all so much for joining. Still have not missed a single one. Very, very proud of that. Today we're going to be working on level design, and I'll give it another few seconds or a minute or so for people to file in. Seeing some folks already. Thank you so much to the people that come in early before the stream even starts. I really do appreciate that. I read all your messages, and I appreciate all the support. I'm seeing people like Hamza, Angry Berry, Harish, Wolf, Bellcat. Thank you so much for being here. Robert, Muhammad, Termed. I hope that's how you pronounce that. Thank you so much for being here. I really, really do appreciate that. I am back on the level design kick. This past week. Well, this past week I did a few things. First, I played the new Donkey Kong game. So Donkey Kong Bonanza came out, and I did play that, and it's very good. I think the dialogue is really cringy, but the game itself is awesome. And I played that this week. I loved it. I got a lot of cool ideas from it. In fact, I took some notes. Some of them might be useful for Moonshire. But then besides that, I've been rethinking the layout and the level design of everything. I've been like back and forth so many times on what I think the levels should be in what order and all that stuff. So yeah, it's a process, but I'm having a lot of fun. So we'll look at that a little bit today. I say hi to my friend because he is a big fan. Well, hello, thank you. I'm happy to hear that. I played the demo you released like a while ago, and I remember loving it. Thank you, appreciate that. Is it like Mario Odyssey? Yeah, the game is a lot like Mario Odyssey, but there's a few differences, especially in like the way that the story is presented. I still prefer Mario Odyssey as a game, but the new Donkey Kong game is pretty cool. I liked it a lot. I still need to buy the Nintendo Switch too. I actually haven't bought it yet. My friend let me borrow his, and I was playing it. The thing for me is that there's not enough games out yet that I would want to buy it outright, because the new Mario Kart is cool, but I don't know if I want to buy the whole console for that. And same with Donkey Kong. I don't know if it's so good I would buy the console yet, but it is really, really good. I loved it. How's the music? It's good. I'll be putting more music from that game into my playlist actually. Future 34, hi, welcome. Ben Jinx. Harish, no soliciting sales. That's not okay here. Your videos inspired me to take my first steps into game dev journey. Awesome! I'm really happy to hear that. Have played Battlefield 6 open beta? Actually, I've not, because really, in general, I'm not a big fan of multiplayer games. It's just not my thing. Say hi to Hamza. Well, hello, Hamza. So if I'm gonna be working on level design today, we'll probably be doing it in tiled. Although earlier, I wanted to try this, because earlier in the stream, before the stream started, someone was asking if there was going to be a level editor in the game. And I think that there can be, but right now all my levels are designed here in tiled, which works out. I do like working with tiled, but it would be cool if there was something built in. So, before I actually, before I start working on like my tiled maps, I want to show off and see if we can get GPT to write us a level editor, because I think that would be very funny if it just like made one and it worked okay. So I'm not gonna do it in the Moonshire project. Let's open up a new folder actually. I'm going to, I think you can add a folder. No. Here, one second. So, for context, the plan of what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new folder, and I'm just going to ask ChatGPT to create a level editor for Moonshire, and I want to see what it creates. I think it's likely that it's not going to work well at all. I think that it's going to be bad. But I also think it's possible that it'll surprise us. So, I think that we'll see what happens. Map test, okay. And then I'm going to add folder to workspace. It's called map test. And I notice every time recently, whenever I add a folder to the workspace, it crashes VS Code. It's very weird. Yeah, it looks so weird. It's all messed up. Here, I need to close this and open it back up. You should use Cursor AI? Well, what I'm using is GitHub Copilot. How do I compare GDScript to Lua? They both seem pretty similar and both seem pretty good. But personally speaking, the language doesn't matter too much. Because once you learn one language, picking up other languages and the differences between them, they're not too noteworthy. It's not too big of a deal. So let's see. If GDScript is object-oriented, though, that might be an advantage. So what I'm going to try is... this is so weird. I've never actually done this on stream before, but again, for context, what I'm trying to do is my game has... Here. I'm going to open up the game first as well. So this is what the game looks like. And the way that I currently design levels is I open up a different tool called Tiled, and then I'm able to go to the specific maps and then place down objects. But there's a flaw with this process, though, because all of these points here are like... It doesn't actually show what the object is. Like, it says grass. It's labeled as tall, dark grass, or this is labeled as, like, the blossom tree, but it doesn't actually visually show it until it loads it into the game, and that's been one of my biggest pain points of level design with, like, this game framework, is that I have to do it all individually or separately in this tiled editor, and then import it into the game to actually see, like, all the grass particles or the NPCs or the enemies and stuff. So that's why I think it would be fun to see what is an AI able to do about that. Are they actually able to fix that problem? Because if they are, that's awesome. I am skeptical, though. I'm skeptical. That's why, like, I'm going into this with a little bit of caution. So now the challenging part is we need to write a prompt for it. And by the way, I am using, you can see down here, I'm using GPT-5, which just came out like a week ago, I think. So it's brand new, and we're gonna see if it does anything cool. And this is the hard part where I need to say something like, in this workspace is my game, Moonshire, as well as a new folder called Map Test. In the Map Test folder, I want you to create a new map editor using whatever language or framework you think would be most convenient for my specific project. You can read through all of my files, but the specific map files I'm using right now are in Moonshire/maps. Currently, I'm using a map editor called Tiled, and I'm wondering if the map editor you create could improve on those features, maybe. This is a very ambitious prompt. I have no idea what it's going to create. The goal is that this map editor program can output the map files that I can then import into my Moonshire game. Okay, wow, that's gonna be quite the process. So let's go ahead and let that run. I don't know how long that's going to take, but we're gonna let that do its own thing, and I'm gonna go back to Moonshire. My typing speed is goated. Thank you. I think that it could be improved, though, if I actually practice, because right now I haven't really been practicing too much. I think it would 100% be worth it if you could make a level editor for it in the future. I think it would be cool if there was a built-in level editor that was, like, built into the game itself. Because right now, I think that it's still going to produce something that's external, but I'm just curious what it's able to do. Because I know how I could make it, like, without AI. I don't really want to use AI for any of the Moonshire stuff, at least not right now. I would consider, like, building something into the game where you can, like, enter some kind of edit mode. Sort of like in Animal Crossing New Horizons, where you can just, like, terraform all the world and change everything. You could change the biomes and change all the stuff. A dungeon editor, like Wolf's saying. Sorry, I wish that there wasn't a delay between what YouTube shows and what like my little thing above me shows. A dungeon editor would be nice. Yeah, I agree. I think that would be really, really cool. Don't trust GPT for complicated scripts. I personally would not trust GPT for anything. I think that it's really, really important that if you are generating text or code of any kind, you should inherently not trust it, and you should analyze it very, very closely with your own knowledge and experience. Because, yeah, blindly trusting AI to do anything is risky because you never know when it's going to make a mistake, and sometimes it could make a mistake that's very, very serious or costly. There are some horror stories of people giving their AIs like free reign of their entire like organization, and they end up doing some crazy stuff because it thinks it just like hallucinates and does weird things. I used ChatGPT to give me problems to solve with. That's an interesting idea. The delay wasn't that bad. I mean, the delay isn't too bad, but at the same time, I wish it was less. I wish it was less. Just played a little bit of my demo, got demolished by the electric goddess, but it was fun. Yeah, that boss is pretty tough, but thank you for playing, I appreciate that. Good for enhancing skills and learning something. I mean, I don't really think AI is very good for enhancing skills. I think that it really is good for generating code, and that's it. I don't think it's very good for learning. And people, I think that this is the biggest problem with AI, is that it's going to cause a bigger divide between experienced programmers and newcomers. Because when newcomers use AI to produce code, like kind of like what I was doing, kind of like what I'm doing right here, where I gave it a prompt using human language. People are going to do this and create code and put it out there, but if they don't understand what it's doing, and they don't understand the potential flaws or concerns or like security risks or how to host it, how to distribute it safely, there are so many problems that like you actually do need experience with software in order to do these things properly. And I think that's one of the biggest risks, is that people are going to be missing out on that learning stage. I started making my first game recently. I'm finding the process really satisfying. Awesome, I'm glad to hear that. It is satisfying. It is also frustrating, but that's like part of the learning process, is that when you're first starting out, everything kind of is a little bit challenging, where you don't know exactly how to do everything. And basically you're like, okay, well, my first step is I have like my character, and now I want to make my character walk. How do I make a character walk? Well, I need to figure out how to make something move. How do you make something move? You make something move by changing its X position over time. And then you have to worry about like frame rate issues, and worry about diagonal movements, or normalizing the vectors, and you know, there's infinite number of things that you can learn about. I love game development so much, but I think some people do kind of underestimate how difficult it is to become like mastered in it. I don't even feel like I've mastered it. I've only been using 2D development this whole time, and I'm still learning new things, especially with things like shaders. I'm still new to shaders, and I'm still learning a lot with that. An annoying bug on macOS for the cave lighting. Yeah, I actually fixed that in the upcoming, what is it? In the upcoming build here, I'll show it. In conf.lua, there is this high DPI. So this is something that I've noticed in other people's Love 2D games. And actually more than just Love 2D games. Out there in the world, there are things called high DPI displays. This is mostly a Mac thing. I think it's mostly a Mac thing. So some Macs have what's called a high DPI display, where it has very, very high pixel density. And it's able to make things look very, very high resolution, which is awesome for games, but you need to account for that in your calculations. And if you have this enabled and you don't account for it in the calculations, it will lead to the shaders being mismatched, like you were seeing on macOS, where you were using a high DPI display, but my calculations were assuming not a high DPI display, and so the like coordinates get all screwy and the things don't look quite right. So that's why that was happening, and if I turn that off entirely, it'll just look normal on your screen. That being said, it also won't utilize the high DPI performance of your monitor if I turn this off, but it is still something that, like, you know, at least it won't look broken like it currently does, because right now it looks broken when you play it on a high DPI display. Also, I heard someone talking about the lightning boss. Did I make a new demo about that? No, the demo is still super old. I think the demo is over a year old for this at the time being. It's been a while since I've been able to push an update, and that is a very big problem, I would say. The fact that it's taking a while is an issue because like a year ago, I kind of had a big community actively playing the game and helping me with testing, and I really gave that up because I was so focused on fixing the minor problems, getting things working properly. I really did overhaul the whole like design and flow of the game. I've simplified so much stuff. I've removed the grab button, and a lot of the level, like all of the levels are smaller. Everything is simpler. It really is just wildly different than what it was before. AI is only good at searching things from Google, I think. Well, we're gonna see. We're putting that to the test because I am equally skeptical as you, because I see lots of problems come from AI, and the other thing though is that it's changing a lot. Like I'm testing it with GPT-5, which just came out, and I'm gonna see if it's able to do this. So for people that are just tuning in, this script here, this chat window, I gave it this prompt where I wanted to create a level editor because the level editor I use right now, Tiled, it works really well, but there are some shortcomings of it where like it doesn't actually show the people or the sprites for these things because they're built into the game framework, not the level editor. So I'm seeing if ChatGPT-5 is able to come up with any creative solution for that. I don't think it will. I think it's likely that it will not be able to, but maybe it can. And actually, it looks like it finally created a first file. It's been researching stuff this whole time. It made its first index.html file. So it looks like it decided to go with a web-based format for this level editor. I think that's a good choice. That's probably what I would have chosen as well because then you can host it on a server and then people can easily access it. I'm a big fan of web apps in general now because you don't have to download anything. This is something I learned after my run-in with that hacker like last year or whenever that was. It was last year. I got hacked on Discord because I ran a game locally that wasn't actually a game. It was a malware, and I was tricked. I was fooled. And that would not have happened if I was using web applications. You know, I'm sure there are still some security risks with web applications too, but less so compared to when you're downloading software and running it on your computer where it has free reign to do all kinds of crazy nonsense. What do I think about ChatGPT-5? So far, I mean, I use it a little bit for coding, and it seems like it's fine. It is slower than Claude Sonnet, or however you pronounce it. It's slower, but I also think it's possible that it's slower just because it has high volume right now. I bet a lot of people are using it. Web-based ain't bad, I just haven't fully dived into it. Well, yeah, the problem with web-based stuff is that it's inherently more challenging. It's harder to host things on a web server and make it work in a browser compared to making things work just on your desktop. It works a lot smoother on a desktop because when you're coding things on a desktop and you're running it on a desktop, like it's all in the same environment. It's a lot easier to get things running. But when your target platform is a web browser, that's entirely different. Always run EXAs through oh my gosh, my nose is so itchy. Through a virtual machine. Yeah, I learned that lesson the hard way too. Man, I'm so sorry. My nose got really itchy for a moment. The longer this take, the bigger the promise. Well, I mean, you're right. If you're talking about my game in general taking a long time, you're totally right. That's one of my biggest concerns right now too, is that since the game has taken so long, it's been a year since the last update. It's like the hype is higher than ever. I need to live up to these high expectations that I'm setting for myself, and if I don't, it kind of is like it's underwhelming. And it's also underwhelming because, you know, the total amount of content in the demo in this new release is not really going to be more content. It's going to be just much better and more focused and more streamlined, and just yeah, that's the main thing that I was going for. Is I want quality over quantity. It would be very easy for me to take my current Steam demo that's currently on Steam and just add more stuff to it, you know, like add more dungeons with that same like engine and everything and just call it a day. But I was not satisfied with how the game was playing and the flow of all the things that were happening, like the order that you did things. There was no motivation. There was no real story. The story didn't make sense either way. It was way too ambitious, the goals that I had with it originally. And now I've just like toned it down so where it's nice, concise, and really, really good the whole time. That's my main goal. Is I want this game to be like a 3-hour game, but make it really, really good. And then maybe there can be some post-game content, or like a hard mode, or some speedrun challenges. There's all kinds of stuff that you can put in there to add some emergent gameplay. That's a term that I like to use. Emergent gameplay means that there's more to the game than just like what the game provides. It's like speedrunning is emergent gameplay, because it's fun to practice your wave dashes so that you're super fast across the level, and that's like emergent gameplay. You can create little mini games, or if I added multiplayer, you could have emergent gameplay with that where you compete with each other. Will I ever do the challenge or do your own game jam at some point? Well, so I did the GMTK game jam back in 2022, and I liked it. But right now I don't have any plans to do game jams because I don't want to take a break from developing this game to develop a different game. I guess I would do it if I had if a burst of inspiration really hit me, where I'm like, okay, I do want to actually put this idea into practice and get it working to see if it would pan out to anything. I would consider doing that. But when I work for a weekend on a game jam game, that means that I'm not spending a weekend working on this game, and I can't. This is taking way too long already. I really can't afford to be spending more time on other stuff, even though I keep doing that. Like, I've worked on Necrozone recently, and that's taking time away from this as well. It's a hard balance, though, because you can't just, focus nonstop, narrow-mindedly on one task and try to get that done. Even though this is my highest priority task, getting this demo re-released, it's hard to do one thing the whole time. So I've been branching out to the web stuff and making the websites. These are things that I wanted to do anyway, like the bug tracking thing and getting Necrozone back online. I do want to do those things for sure, even though those aren't really the highest priority items compared to working on Moonshire. Oh, host my own game jam? I would consider that, but not until after Moonshire's done, because even hosting one would be a big commitment. And I would probably want to participate if I was hosting one. Okay, finally, how long did that take? Did that take 10 minutes? It's wrapping things up. It's giving me all the notes for this level editor that I created. Oh my god. Wow. Okay, so for extra context, for anyone who was not here earlier, I started the stream by pointing out that level editing in Love2D is kind of challenging because I have to use this external tool called Tiled. And Tiled works really well, but it doesn't integrate perfectly. Like, you can see all these points. It's not perfect. It's not super great. So I wanted to see, maybe ChatGPT is able to create a new program that surpasses Tiled in some way, or that it is just better for my specific game. So to recap, the prompt I gave it was, in the map test folder, I want you to create a new map editor using whatever language or framework you think would be the most convenient for my specific project. In this case, it created a web project. It created an index.html, app.js, and style.cs. You can read through all my files, the Moonshire files, all the stuff's in the map, and we're just going to see if it's able to make some kind of map editor that is useful for my project in some way. Like I said from the start, I am pretty skeptical. I am not super certain if it's going to work. Bro gave a whole manual. Oh, I know. That's the thing about this stuff, is that it gets very what's the word? It's very descriptive with how it does things. Like, it talks about its step-by-step process about what it's doing. Like, here it says, I'll open a couple of sample maps to inspect the tiled Lewis structure and replay yeah. So it's looking through all this stuff. Like, all of this stuff up here, it's just reading. It's just reading all of my files to see what the format currently is. And it didn't create the new code until all the way down here. And then after this, it creates a checklist for itself, and then it sets the next steps. Wow. Okay. And then, yeah, it gives the whole manual, like you said. It created a README too. I think I can open preview and show this. So it wrote this README file as well. This is just a guide on how to use the map editor that I created. A lightweight zero backend web editor to create maps tailored for the Moonshire game. All right. Okay, so the project is there. Map test. Index.html. Let's see what happens. Alrighty. Whoa. So this is the map editor. Alright, alright. It's kind of hard to see everything. Oh my gosh, it has so many layers. Oh my gosh, I don't like this. So how does this work? Brush. Water, tile sets, new map. I don't... Does this work? I don't know about this. It looks like it's broken. I don't... What does this do? It doesn't look like it's doing anything. Also, middle click is super screwy. Oh my gosh, it's so messed up. Yeah, it's not showing the actual tiles. And nothing's showing up in the... Do I have to make a new map or something? What happens if I click... Nothing's happening on the... The whole site's like not doing anything. New map. New. Export Lua. Okay, well it did that, but there's nothing in the... There's nothing in it. What does this say? I am having trouble with this. Cause the scale is all over the place. This is not very good. I can't read what this button says, and it doesn't do anything. I think that it did not really work. I think that it did not work well at all, unfortunately. Did I ever have any experience with Java or even better libgdx? I did. When I was researching game engines, I took a tutorial, or I followed a tutorial on libgdx to see what it was like, because I already knew Java. When I was in college, I learned Java as part of my college coursework, and it felt like a nice transition, but in the end, it just didn't feel quite right. I ended up liking Lua a little bit more. Pick a column and row size first. I mean, it looks like it's already set. One column, forest, like that. I wish it had. Yeah, it's just not showing the tiles. I think that's broken. It's really bad. Yeah. This little experiment with the tile editor failed. Failure. Super bad. Does not work. I could not get it to work. So, I think that I should just get rid of that entirely. We're going to delete map test. Goodbye. Now, that being said, should we try something different? Is there a different... Ah, come on. Close workspace. AI is horrible, not gonna lie. I mean, it depends on what you use it for. So that prompt I gave it was intentionally very challenging. It was so challenging that it wasn't able to figure it out. I can't believe 2 trees died for this terrible map editor. Yeah, it's kind of basically true, yeah. Yeah, I don't think that the map editor worked out. Okay, so rather than using AI slop, we're gonna use human-built text or level editor. Now, also, it did a bad job with that, but maybe it would do a better job if it tried to like integrate it into the game itself. But that's not something I even wanna. I don't even want to take a look at that right now. Let's just design some levels. And I think that the first thing I want to do actually is the cemetery, the one behind the waterfall. Do I have that set up right now? I can't remember. Oh no, I don't. It's just a wall. So let's make sure that I can actually still spawn transitions. AI will be better in the future. I mean, yeah, like that's the thing about it. That's why I like doing tests like that occasionally, because it's always changing, and we are still at the lowest part. Like, it's only going to get better from here, supposedly. I do actually use these like AI agents sometimes. I think that they are useful. They are especially useful for simple tasks. Like, for example, if I was working in Moonshire and I'm like, okay, I need to change the name of this layer NPC, I needed to change it to mob. It needs to be changed entirely from NPC to mob. But maybe if I just change this one string, it has some other implications where I could instead open up a chat window and say, change the game map layer mob. Or sorry, game map layer NPC to mob instead. And then actually I could say change all of the map files as well, including the TMX and Lua files. So if you say something like this, a prompt like this, I am very confident would be successful. And in fact, I might as well go ahead and try it, and then I can just undo it. I can just undo it. I don't want to do that. It would be so annoying to. I don't want to do that. But it would work. It does a good job with like simple tasks, and really it does a good job with like setting up projects too. But it gets stuck on like really dumb problems a lot. It gets things wrong, and it sometimes gets so stuck that you would need a human person to intervene to unstuck it, to get it unstuck. And if you yourself are not experienced with coding, I don't think you'd be able to get it unstuck, because you need a lot of expertise. And that's what I'm worried about with AI especially, is that if people start using these tools to create software, they themselves are not going to get better at programming, and they're not going to get better at understanding each line of code, which that is important. If you don't really understand the mechanics of how everything's functioning, you're going to miss some crucial details, especially in things like security. AI is prone to making security issues, because there's a lot of things to consider with security. You need someone who knows what they're talking about with all that stuff. If you had to undo each file, it won't rename at once. Well, really, all I would do is just undo the commit. So you know what? I can still do it. Oh, I don't want to do that. Yeah, but I'm not gonna do that right now. It actually opened up an old instance of the chat. Yeah, I don't want to deal with that right now. Yeah, instead I'm just going to go ahead and start working on the next level that's above this one, which I think is transition. No, what do they call it? Oh, it's in the load map file. Transition. Won't take over game development. I mean, it will supplement game development. In fact, it probably already has, because this is what I mean, is that it's a lot easier to ask an AI to do something and then it does it than it is for you to manually do it yourself. But when you do it yourself, you learn from it. You are gaining experience, and when you have an AI do it, then you are not gaining experience, and that's a very, very big problem. I've seen so many AI slop ads. Hi Pippa, welcome in. Yeah, I have too. Some of them are funny and some of them are scary. I love talking about AI because it's very nuanced. It has a lot of pros and has a lot of cons. I can see a lot of potential with it where it's actually useful, but obviously there's some problems that it introduces. It has the potential to cost people their jobs. It has the potential to like cause misinformation, like people were saying, AI slop. When you see a video now, you have to think to yourself, is this an AI video or is this real? And there's not really a way for you to tell. Even if there was a program for you to tell if it was real or not, how can you trust that program? Like that's going to be a really, really big issue. See, like back in the day, you used to be able to see a video or see a photograph and you would know with certainty it was real. But then Photoshop came along and then people could edit it. But even then you could still identify Photoshops. But videos were really hard to fake. But now you can fake videos and it looks legitimate, real. It's crazy. To some, like there's limitations, of course. Like if you ever see an AI video where people are like walking or moving, I always think that those look really uncanny because the way people walk is so precise and nailing it is hard to get. And I think that AI videos have a hard time with that, and that's where the immersion gets broken a lot. But how long is it going to be before they get it so perfect that it's indistinguishable? That's what I'm worried about. The video of bunnies jumping on the trampoline. What? That video is so crazy because it looks so real and it's so cute and so funny and everyone believed it, including me. But man, isn't that weird? That's gonna be the whole internet from now on. And the bunny video is funny because if you look really closely and analyze it, you can see minor AI mistakes. Like some of the bunnies fuse into each other. But in 10 years, will that still be a problem? Will the AI video generators still be doing that in 10 years or 20 years? I don't know, maybe. I'm afraid of that. Dead internet theory mentioned? Yeah, basically, is that if you don't know what's real anymore, what even is the internet or what is creation? What is art? Oh, what a horrible way to look at things. But also, like there's the other mindset of it's like I can use AI to streamline my own development. I can use it to help me with my own tasks and reduce fatigue, because that's the other thing, is that me manually going through all my files and changing this NPC layer and changing it to mob or changing it to some other string, I can do that. It's easy for me to do, but it does take effort for me to do that. And when I ask an AI to do it for me, it reduces the fatigue. By the end of the task, like I feel less tired, I feel less mentally drained because the AI did the work for me. I think that's really the big benefit of AI, is that it can do very mundane tasks for you. And since you're not doing the mundane tasks, you have a little bit more brain calories to spare doing more intensive or creative tasks. That's the like positive outlook on AI, right? Is that AI can supplement what you're working on. It can enable you. Like, I don't want to spend my time doing really mundane coding tasks. I want to spend my time doing cool, like, design and planning things out, doing the, like, thought-provoking stuff. I don't really want to spend my time doing the annoying coding, like bug fixes or weird, like sifting through code looking for little things. That's really not what I want to work on. That's why there's a balance, right? You can use AI to do these mundane tasks, and that gives you a lot more energy to do the fun things, to the creative tasks, the things that require a human touch. Because AI can't do everything, at least not yet. And I think that a game especially requires human creativity to make something noteworthy, to create something that people want to play. If a robot creates a game, I don't think that it's going to be very fun, or it might be fun, but it won't be creatively, it won't give you that same like thrill that human artwork gives you. At least I don't think so. Not yet. But then there's the idea that that art truly is, like beauty is in the eye of the beholder, is what they say. And if art really is beauty in the eye of the beholder, then that means it doesn't matter what the source of the art comes from. All that matters is the output. Like, if the art is good, then people won't matter what it came from. And especially if we reach the point where art, like if videos that are generated with AI are indistinguishable from videos that are actually recorded, or artwork, or games, or code, if there's no distinction, if there's no way for you to tell, I don't really know what the difference even is. Like, it's a weird time to be alive where we're in that like transitional phase. It's scary. AI has gotten bad. I mean, yeah, that's generally the case. It's a controversial topic, and I always like to approach it very cautiously, because I understand why a lot of people have strong opinions on it, especially in the negative direction, because there are some very negative aspects of it. with like legal concerns and the way it can replace people's jobs and the way that it can infringe on intellectual property, and then just the existential crisis of artwork. Artwork used to be a human creation, and now it really is. It's like questionable now. What a scary thought. I don't really like that. I'm just like observing what it is. A very smart take. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that, but at the same time, I don't really know what's right or what's wrong, and I try to be patient with this subject. I'm making a Love to Do Yet project. Can you tell me some tips? Yeah, I mean, the main tip is just to keep it simple at first and build things up over time. If you have this project in mind, like a game, or let's say that you were wanting to make a game like mine. A lot of people come into the stream wanting to make like a Zelda game or like a Mario game, something that they are really into, and that's what I was wanting to do as well. But when you jump into a really complex project, you get overwhelmed very fast, and it ends up causing you to drop out and just stop. My goal for you is to stick with it. If you stick with game development for 5 years, 10 years, however long it takes, if you stick with it, you will be able to make whatever game you can think of. I promise. But if you burn yourself out at the very beginning trying to make your dream game right away, yeah, you might burn out and just stop making games because you're like, oh, it's too hard. It's too hard. So yeah, make Pong, and then make something a little bit harder than Pong. Make one character move around, take it one step at a time. That's all you can really do. Pong mentioned. Which keyboard do I use, Chalcade? I use a mechanical keyboard that I bought from Amazon. It's not anything too special, but I love how it looks, and it uses like brown switches, so it's like perfectly clacky for me. I like it. My first game was a side-scroller shooter. That sounds really cool, but I would say that sounds a little bit too challenging, honestly, for a first game. It depends on what engine or what tools you're using, but I still really, really want people to make it as dead easy as possible. Because if you think it's easy to make Pong, I'm sorry, it's actually not. Because let's talk through the process of making Pong. Sorry, we're gonna take a Pong detour yet again. But Pong is like the one thing that I talk about in every stream because I can't resist. It's my one true favorite topic. Okay, can I make this so it's filled in? Solid fill. Okay, so Pong works where you have like a rectangle over here, and just make it one player Pong for now. Start with one block, and your only goal is to have it go up when you press the up arrow and down when you press the down arrow. You will be shocked at how difficult it is just to do this. Just to make a game application that responds to your keyboard input to change the graphics that are displayed on screen to render a positional object at a different point depending on how long you press down the arrow key, and to stop it before it goes off screen. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that. So that's the first step for you. Make Pong, but make just one rectangle go up and down the screen. I think that you'll be surprised at how difficult that is. If you can do it in a day, I will be impressed. If you can do that in one day as your first game, I will be very impressed. I think it's more likely that it'll take you a day to get your game engine working, a day to get one rectangle showing up on screen, and then a day to get the keyboard input working, and then another day to get it moving. That's what I think. But that's what I think is actually going to happen. Prove me wrong. If you think that I'm wrong and that you can actually do it faster, do it. I made Pong in 1 week. That's how long I think it would take. I think that if you are brand new and you really had no idea how coding or like any of game development stuff worked at all, I think that it would take at least a week to make Pong. And if you were starting from true scratch, like it really is a lot to learn. Zleb, I might need you to repeat your question. I must have missed it. Making Pong on stream when? I should do that. I think that having a Pong stream would be awesome because it's just demonstration. It's just a demonstration of what the learning process is like. Pong is simple, trust me. Ball physics is literally manipulating X speed and Y speed values. Yeah, it is. But at the same time, when you don't even know how to code yet, what does that even mean? And also, like, it sounds like you say it's easy. manipulating X speed and Y speed values. Well, that sounds easy when you know how to do it. Like, that sounds easy to me. It sounds easy to us because we've done it before. But when you have not done it before, when you've never coded anything, when you've never made any object at all move, like, it's not easy to make a ball that, like, goes boop, 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 boop. Because how do you decide what direction it's moving? Because you have to code that into words, right? How do you code that into words? And then, like, when it collides with the edge, how do you know what the next direction is going to be? How do you know when it collides with the edge? How do you know when the ball has reached the edge of the screen? How do you know that? You have to figure that out. You have to code that. You have to specifically code that into the game, and if you don't know how to do that, you have to research how to do that. And that takes time, and the whole process of challenging yourself with that is how you learn. Going through that process of creating this is the learning process. You won't know how to code at first, but you have to force yourself to learn just enough coding to do this. And once you do that, like, you have a functioning game. But it takes a long time to get there. That's why I say start with Pong, because, like, all that stuff I just talked about, multiply it by 100 if you're trying to make a game like mine instead, because look at all the extra stuff that's going on here, especially with, like, hitboxes and health and a UI, and oh my god, imagine people trying to do all that. I'm kind of bored. No worries. Thanks for stopping in. I think it's fair, because I go on rants once in a while. When I was making Pong, I was shocked on how hard it was simply to make the X speed flip on itself. I know. Because it sounds easy. And by the way, that never goes away. Even today, when I plan out how long something is going to take, I always underestimate it. And that's a really common thing. Whenever you, like, give an estimate at work, you're supposed to, like, have the estimate in your head and then double it. And that's how long it actually takes. So when I say it takes a week to make Pong, like, that's true, but it might take 2 weeks. It just depends on the person. It depends on your experience. It depends on your age, how much experience you have with tech or games in general. You know, like, as you grow older, like, someone who is 40 is probably going to have a lot easier of a time picking up new skills. Well, you know, I don't even know if that's true. I just know that adults in general have a lot of experience with learning things, and so they know how to learn, and therefore they might be better at picking up new skills. But I'm sure it depends on the person. I just think in general, young people have a harder time picking up new skills just because they have to, like, learn how to learn. That's one of the benefits of college, I think, is that it's not really the information from college that you learn, but you learn how to learn, and that's what's useful on the job. Is you have to learn so quickly when you work somewhere, and if you don't know how to learn, then you're not going to be very useful. I'm not even joking. I spent 3 days learning how to change an animation. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. But the thing is, now that you spent those 3 days learning how to, like, work on an animation, you have gained experience. It's like a video game. You gained EXP, and you leveled up, and now you are level 2 as opposed to level 1. Compared to the people who AI generated Pong, which I could do right now if you wanted to, they didn't learn anything. Even though it took you 3 days, that was 3 days of experience. That's like 3 days of grinding in World of Warcraft. It's the same exact thing. You are gaining experience, even if you don't succeed. Challenging yourself is how you learn. That's the only way to get there. Is there any way to learn coding fast? The only way to learn coding fast is to do it all the time, because when you immerse yourself into it, it does come quickly. I think that the best way to learn coding is to force yourself to make something that you want to make. So if you have an idea for a game in your mind, a simple game, or an idea for a website, or a simple, like, software application, it doesn't matter. It could be any kind of script, anything that you can think of. If you can think of something that would be helpful or cool in your life, I think it would be awesome to challenge yourself and say, I'm going to learn how to do this. Even if even if you don't fully reach the finish line, it is a beneficial experience to try, because you'll run into challenges and you'll overcome some of those challenges, and that's where the EXP comes in. I have like 400 other games I need to play before that. Yeah. I feel for the people who have a backlog. I remember, oh my gosh, I bet I still have my backlog. I had a backlog when I was in college, and I was so adamant about playing through like all the classics, and I did it. And I cleared my backlog, and since then, I basically like fell off where I don't play as many games as I used to. I used to play every game. I used to play so many games, and now I mainly just play the games that I think are groundbreaking or like they're doing something new or fresh. That's the games that I like to play, or games from series that I really like. Like, I don't think the new Pokemon game is going to be groundbreaking, but it probably will be fun, and I'm gonna play it because I like Pokemon. That's all. Well, I designed the graveyard now. Oh yeah, I forgot. I forgot what I was doing. Yeah, let's do that. So the way that I design these is first I need to make a map for it. So in my maps, I think, let's see, the code for it is going to be A3. So I'm going to copy this one. We're going to go to A3 and I'm going to call it graveyard. Yeah, graveyard. So now that the file's created, one thing I also like to do whenever I make these new files is actually change the output target. So from A4 waterfall, I'm going to manually change it to A3 graveyard. The reason I do this manually is because I have a bad habit of opening these files in tiled and then doing quick export, which overwrites whatever it was set to. So now it's going to export to the new one. So if I export this, it showed up. We now have an A3 graveyard.lua. But right now, this graveyard is literally a duplicate of the waterfall level. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all of this stuff and get rid of everything. Except for maybe the waterfall portion. I'll keep that because that's going to carry over. So we're going to grab all this stuff. Oh, wow, that's really dark. I'm going to grab this. Can't remember what the F. Okay, there we go. I have a hard time playing new games, but we never know. I have a hard time playing new games too. I wouldn't say new games. It's more that I have to see that it's doing something cool and fresh. Because otherwise, like, if it feels reductive in any way, it's like I already played. I've played so many games in my life. If I can just compare it to another game I've already played, it's like, yeah, I've already gotten my fill of something like that. Would I add co-op to play with a friend? Yeah. That's something that I do want to do. And I think that I could pull it off. I started that process already to try and get that working. But it is hard getting multiplayer working. That is a process. So I haven't made any full commitments to like for sure it's gonna be in the game, but I'm going to try. I think at the very least I'm for sure gonna be able to pull off what is it, local co-op. I think that that's something I could do, but connecting over a network is definitely more challenging, but I do have the hard parts taken care of. Have I tested GameMaker? Yeah, I used GameMaker a lot, especially when I was growing up. Doing my own pixel art is more a daunting task for me. Well, I'm with you. When I started with pixel art, it was also a very, very daunting task for me because I'm not an artist. I never really was. And even still, I wouldn't really consider myself an artist. I do artwork a lot, but I collaborate with a lot of people. So if you really feel overwhelmed by pixel art, one, I would say everyone does at first. So you have to start somewhere. But two, you can collaborate with people to fill in the gaps. If you feel like you would not be able to pull off artwork, then I would say it's okay just to say, I'm going to collaborate with someone, or I'm going to commission someone to make pixel art, or I'm going to use open source or paid assets. Pixel art is fun. Yeah, I agree. I love pixel art, and it's not something I really would have expected to like, really, because I never really considered myself much of an art person, but now I do artwork all the time, in terms of pixel art at least. Pixel art is my problem. I want to make a game right now. I'm working on a character, but it doesn't look good. My advice is to start with open source assets as a starting point and have that help you with, like, I'm not suggesting that you copy them. And I'm not suggesting that you infringe on any licenses, but there are open source and paid asset packs that you can use in your games. And then if you want to make it more unique, you can edit the sprites to make them more in line with your style, or you can add new sprites to complement that. And by using a starting point with an asset pack, it cuts out a lot of the mundane tasks where you can focus on building up the skills that you want to make. So if you're interested in making better characters, use some kind of like tile set that already exists, and then make characters that look good with that tile set, right? Like, you don't have to start everything and do everything yourself. I don't do that. Most of these sprites made in my game, I do not make from scratch. I either commission an artist to make them, or I use an open source asset pack, or I pay for some asset packs. I did make edits to all of these sprites. All of these sprites are edited by me, and it's like my art direction taking center stage here. But at the same time, I got a lot of help. I would not be able to make some of these more complicated sprites without the help of other people. One thing I wanted to do is I'm going to put in the cliffs, and I can't remember what the cliffs actually look like, because I changed them kind of recently, the high cliffs. Yeah, they look like this. I think I'm going to... The entrance to this graveyard actually takes place behind a waterfall. Allfather, thank you so much. Can't go without a can't go without a Moonshire Monday donation. Thank you so much, Allfather. I appreciate that. Thank you for stopping in. I'm glad you're able to make it. Right now, I'm just working on some level design stuff. Specifically, what the heck? What layer is this on? It's on elevation 2, I see. I'm gonna get rid of these. And see, I copied these layers over and was causing problems. So let's get a first draft just started. This is the high cliff layers. So I'm gonna put this all around there. This graveyard is gonna take place like in a little alcove behind a waterfall. That's how it works. We'll make it more... It doesn't need to be this big. Something like this. It's probably... I do know I want it to go all the way over to the right side over here. That's for sure. Because I want this map to connect with... Where is it? The farm. This is actually a shortcut meant... Like, I'm going to put a shortcut leading from this path right here. It's going to clear out and go directly over into this map on the right. So I'm going to put an entrance. Where is it? I'm going to put an entrance over here. How should I do that, actually? Should I... Farm... It uses the low cliffs over here. Okay, I know what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do cliffs, high cliffs for over here. And that makes sense. And then it's going to curve this way. And that doesn't look very good. Yeah, it's too simple. I'm sorry if I'm missing your question. Like, I get a little bit focused when I start working on stuff. If I didn't answer your question, you can repeat your question. Just don't spam it like repeatedly all the time. Will I ever hire more people to work on Moonshire? I kind of did. So I have some people helping me. I have an artist that's helping me, and I have someone else that was helping me with level design. So I have folks that are helping me with stuff that are giving me tips and helping me out. But at the same time, I'm still the main bottleneck because there's a lot of tasks that I need to get through before I can really hand off a lot of this stuff to other people. But I did spend a lot of time collaborating with a few folks with for specific tasks, especially with level design. Level design is also something that I'd never really expected myself to get into, but now I kind of really like level design. Okay, I think I'm gonna do something like this. This still doesn't look very good. I think I'm gonna move all of this down. I think it needs to go up like that. Okay, and then up here, you know, actually, I don't want high cliffs on this side. I think there's just gonna be high cliffs on the bottom. Yeah, I'm gonna get rid of these. I'm gonna do high cliffs on the bottom. No. And then I'm going to switch over to low cliffs. So really, I need to move all of this stuff to elevation 2 real quick. Oh, actually, no, these need to be on top. These need to be on the top layer. What made I choose Love 2D over Godot? I mean, so I used Game Maker for a long, long time when I was growing up. When I was in like elementary and middle school. Even actually, I used it a lot in high school too. I used Game Maker for a long time, and I really, really love Game Maker. But when I was getting into college and I was learning like real programming with languages like Java and stuff, I'm like, okay, well now that I'm learning the actual programming, I want to kind of apply this into a framework that can kind of utilize that skill. So I started looking at other frameworks like Unity, and Godot wasn't out at the time. Or if it was out, it was very, very new. I looked at Unreal, and I looked at a few others. LibGDX is another one. I used MonoGame for a while. But when I used Love2D, it just felt right. It felt very natural. So I always advise people to use the game engine or framework, whatever it is, that you like the best. Even if other people are telling you to use something different, or that there's better options out there, I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are better options beyond Love2D out there. But I like using Love2D, and so that's the reason why I use it. But, you know, it's okay if people are not, like, too into that idea. I think that using a full-fledged engine has its advantages. Like, if I was using Godot, there would be some very big advantages of doing that, especially with level editing. I have a lot of problems with leveling edits, with editing levels, just because it really is a lot more difficult designing levels when you have to do it in an external tool compared to in the engine itself. Like I miss Game Maker in that sense. Game Maker has a built-in level editor too. Do I love 2D? Do I love 2D? Yes. Yes, I do. If you're going to make multiplayer, I recommend making split screen first. I don't think split screen is necessary. I mean, what this game needs, if there's multiplayer, everyone would be in the same like room. Everyone's going to be in the same map at the same time. So I wouldn't. It would just be more. It would be a bit of a constrained experience where everyone needs to be in the same map. Like, two people can't be facing two different bosses at the same time locally. That wouldn't really work. So everyone would need to be in the same map. And then from there, I don't think you would need split screen. Since everyone's in the same map, I think that the game window would just zoom out a little bit. And I already have that where it can adapt. Like, right now it's zoomed out, but let's say that the two characters are really far apart, like on opposite ends of the map. Well, it could zoom out even more. And if he goes too far away, then that can be like an incentive. Or it could do like the Smash Bros thing, where if you're off screen, it has like a little cursor that shows you where you actually are. You know, a lot of like the Nintendo Mario games have local co-op, and those don't have split screen. They just have a wide view so everyone can see it. That being said, though, it does get kind of challenging playing the multiplayer Marios when you're playing with multiple people, because it's so chaotic and fast. Kind of like old Lego games. Yeah, totally. Yeah, the old Lego games just like pan out the camera so that everyone can be seen in shot. In my opinion, Love2D is the best 2D framework. I mean, personally, I kind of agree. I really, really like it. I think it's great. Co-op would already be nice. Yeah, I think co-op would be really fun for this game. So I'm going to zoom this back in. I think for my streams, like being able to see the pixel art up close, it looks a lot better when it's zoomed in. So that's why I normally keep it zoomed in. Split screen is good to be able to do double rendering on the same map. Yeah, that requires extra performance, and I don't really think that would add anything. Also, that cuts the area that you're able to see in half. Like, if I had to cut this down the middle, like you wouldn't really be able to see very far. I think that having a wide area of view is actually gives you more flexibility compared to split screen. I like Pygame. I like Pygame more just cause. Nothing wrong with that. That's why I like Love2D, because I just like it, and I can understand why people like. I used to be really into Python too. My internship when I was in college, I used Python completely, like 100%, and I loved it. I think Python's awesome. It's a really good scripting language. I haven't used Pygame myself though. I really should give it a shot, just to see what it's like. The fog effect and colors make the game look awesome. Thank you. How do I make the fog? Good question. I love talking about that. So the fog is using a parallax effect that, because you can kind of slightly notice it, that the fog moves at a different rate compared to the camera and the player. It's really hard to see, but you can kind of see it where the fog moves. Yeah, like look, when I walk to the right, the fog moves slowly. When I walk to the left, it moves a little bit faster, like horizontally. It's really, really subtle, but that's a parallax effect, and that's accomplished by just using it in tandem with the camera. And all of the fog is like a really, really big just sprite. So let me pull this up real quick. I think it's under fog. Yeah, so here's the fog texture. It literally is just a light blue, it looks like. For some reason I made it light blue, but it looks like this. It's just like a bunch of foggy wisps, and that's all it is. And then when it's rendered in the game, it looks like I color it a little bit and then make it transparent. And then as it floats across the screen, it just wraps on itself multiple times so that it's always able to show. Split screen just to learn. Oh, I see. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm always into learning experiences, but in general, in my case, I think that I have so many other things that I could learn about, especially with like networking multiplayer. I've never done networking multiplayer, and that's something I really want to do, where you can play with a friend online through Steam. I think that'd be awesome, but that's a big challenge, and that's why I haven't made any commitments yet on that, because it's so challenging. I know it is, that it's possible I won't be able to pull it off. Because if I could pull it off, but it's not good, I don't think I would release it. I would only release it if it's good. You know, that's kind of what I mean by that. So back to our little cemetery. I call it a cemetery, but this doesn't really look like a cemetery, does it? I'm going to move that. I'm going to get rid of some of this. Oops, sorry about that. Okay. Does the roll have iframes? Yes, it does. And I tried to make this a little bit more clear in this new release. If you look closely at the player, while you're rolling, you become semi-transparent. And I'm hoping that helps to clarify that there are iframes. I'm also going to have like small tutorial sections. I think it's over here, where you have to roll through spikes. I mean, that's buggy, but if you don't roll, you get hit. And if you do roll, you don't get hit. There's probably... I need to think of a better way to introduce these floor spikes, because it feels very forced right here. It does not feel natural. So I need to think a little bit harder about that. Okay. Cliffs. Maybe I can do... yeah, that looks good. I kind of like this little alcove up here. I'm going to move it down a bit, though. Like that. Okay? And I'm moving this over. Yeah, the symmetry on this is a little bit uncanny. That's not bad. No. It's so hard for me to decide on like the exact placement of all these dumb side cliff stuff. Souls-like confirmed. Yeah, basically with the the roll dodge and stuff. The next Souls-like I'm gonna play whenever it happens, Sekiro. We were just talking about backlogs. I would say Sekiro's on my backlog. I hear Sekiro's amazing, and I really think that I would like it a lot, just because I'm a big fan of not linear design, but like level. I don't really know how to describe it. Sekiro doesn't seem like a big open world. It seems like it is an open world, but it has like linear challenges to it, and that's what I like. That's kind of what I want Moonshire to be like too. I'm gonna move these down to there. What is the best way to learn the love engine and syntax? Loving the look of Moonshire so far. Thank you, appreciate that. The best way to learn is just to make a game on your own and challenge yourself. So I was talking about Pong earlier in the stream. Yeah, my advice is to make Pong. It's to open up Love 2D and render a rectangle, and then make it move up and down, and then render a square, and then make that square move all around. And like, it seems like it would be very easy, but when you're new to a framework, it is not. It is hard to do this. So go easy on yourself at first. Take your time. It's okay to go slow at first, by the way. Most people do. I think that getting started with a new engine, or especially if you're brand new to it in general, it's not easy. So that's why I always say go easy on at first and learn by doing. Like, you can't really learn the syntax and then make games. You have to make games. You have to learn syntax by making games. I've been on a 2D game kick lately. Nice, that's cool. I just played the demo for Adventures of Elliot on Nintendo Switch 2, which is a Zelda-like game. Well, is it a Zelda-like game? It's made by the creators of Octopath Traveler, and it does feel like a Zelda-like game. It definitely is, and it's really fun. And the visuals of that game are really cool. I'm gonna pull up a screenshot of it real quick. Actually, I'm gonna pull it up in a browser that's not my streaming browser, because my streaming browser always crashes. Adventures of Elliot. I think they probably could have chosen a better name. I hate Google Images. No way. This is driving me nuts. Okay, this is what the game looks like, where it's pixel art characters in a 3D environment, and I really like how it looks. I would love to make a 2.5D game like that someday. I think that'd be awesome. But yeah, I played through the whole demo and I really liked it. I thought it was neat. It reminds me a lot of what I wanted Moonshire to be originally, where it was like a pure Zelda-like game. But Moonshire is not really like that anymore. Yeah, that looks okay. Okay, so once I get this up and running, actually, I think I do have dead trees. Do I have dead trees? It's been a while since I did level design. Trees. Dead. No, what did I call it? I do have dead trees. But trees also have a property called dead. I need to look for the sprites. Sorry, I'm kind of ignoring chat for a moment. Sorry about that. I like one person animal that represents your game. One person or animal that represents my game. Not sure what you mean. I guess the main character kind of represents the whole game. When is Moonshire coming out? Beats me. I wish I knew. Is there a way to equalize the fog movement, much like player movement equalization? Your fog is gorgeous, but it is a bit jarring. What do you mean by equalize the movement? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that. Because the movement of the fog feels pretty smooth and equalized. Do you mean like... Well, it's not equalized, actually. It's parallaxed. It's the fog layer is between the player and the camera. So the camera is floating above the player. Like the camera is where your eyeballs are. And the fog is meant to be a layer between the camera and the player. So that's why they move at inconsistent speeds, because they are like vertically, the z-axis is different for those two instances. That's why it behaves that way. But I see what you mean. If it does look jarring to anyone else, let me know. I made the moving system for the Pong game. Awesome, that's cool. Yeah, that is the first step, and honestly, that is a big step, because you have to read keyboard input, and then you have to map that to movement of the rectangle, which means you have to understand what movement even is, which means you have to understand what XY positioning even is, and then you have to realize what XY positioning over time is, and that's what movement is. So just by implementing that itself, you've already taken care of like 5 or 6 different core concepts just by making this one scene. Just one rectangle alone taught you so many different concepts, and that's really important. That's really important. This graveyard, I think I'm going to have a little fountain up here. I'm going to use different tiles than these water tiles, but I'm going to have a little... It's going to be like a fairy fountain. Except it's going to be a spooky fairy. So there's that. I also... Maybe I should move this up a little bit, because I want there to be enough space for a fight. I want there to be a fight encounter in this area. So I'm going to move all of this up. Do I mind if someone took a look at the code of your game somehow? I mean, people... My answer to that is that, in general, I don't really want people to be doing that. However, people are gonna do that, and even though I don't like it, like you're not breaking the law or anything if you extract the code from my game, and if you look at it. You are breaking the law if you steal that code and use it for your own projects. That's against the law, because the code belongs to me. It's my license. So you're not allowed to steal the code, but you're not breaking the law if you extract the code from my game and look at it. I don't personally like that. But people are going to do that. It is what it is. Every live stream we have Talcade's wise words of wisdom. Well, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. I hope that other people feel that way too. I like to think I say smart things sometimes. I try to, really, my main thing is that I try to have really level-headed takes. I try to look at both sides of an argument and understand that there are different perspectives to any issue, especially controversial issues. Like, if people feel very strongly about something, but there are people that feel very strongly the opposite way, that's a very clear sign that there are pros and cons to that issue. Like, there must be something that both sides are choosing to ignore, or not necessarily ignoring, but there's pros and cons. There has to be. Otherwise, there wouldn't be people so strongly for or against some controversial thing. So I try to approach everything with patience and try to be open-minded. But like, you can only do so much. At the same time, we're all human. We're gonna have biases, and sometimes you can only do so much to help with that. The main thing, I try not to assume I'm always right, because I know that I'm not. Most of the time, I'm not. But if I speak with confidence, I like to make sure that I'm right about it. Any new upcoming game that I'm excited about? I mean, most recently, I was excited about Donkey Kong Bonanza, and I played through that, and I loved it. I thought it was really good. The only thing I didn't like about it was the dialogue, but besides that, I loved the game. I thought it was really good. The next game, I don't think I'm really super excited about anything big until the new Pokemon game comes out. And even that, I wouldn't say I'm super stoked about it. I'm going to play it, and I'll probably enjoy it. But I wouldn't say the hype for it was quite where I'm looking for it to be. So, and also, I don't own a Switch 2 yet. I borrowed a Switch 2 so I could play Bonanza. I'm really glad I did. I loved it. I really recommend it. I think everyone should play through Bonanza. Just be mindful that I personally thought that the dialogue was very cringy. It wasn't for me, but the gameplay itself is very fun. I really liked it. What's my favorite book? Oh wow, I haven't been asked that for a long time. I actually don't have a favorite book, because it's embarrassing to say, I really don't read very often. I read articles and online stuff, but in terms of reading books, it's been quite a while. I have a bookshelf in my room with a bunch of like nonfiction books that I've read through that I like, and a handful of fiction. But really, I'm not that big of a reader. I wish that wasn't the case, but it's hard for me to maintain that focus. Whenever I sit down and read a book, I lose focus and I start imagining things, or my mind wanders to other things. I just like daydreaming. Like, in general, I prefer daydreaming over reading. I find that more entertaining, and that's why I don't read very much. I don't really think that's a good thing. I think that it would be good if people read. I think that I should be reading more because that's a good way to gather information. But I think that it's also okay to gather information from, videos or articles or podcasts. You can still learn things from those sources too. In my opinion, I like Pal World more than Pokemon. You know what? I actually haven't played Pal World yet. I should. The reason I didn't play Pal World is because it was like in alpha test or whatever it was, or open beta, whatever the current phase it's in. Early access, I guess, is what you would call it. And I don't normally play early access games. I'll play demos. I like playing demos, but paying for an early access game that I know is still not at its best, I'd prefer to wait. So I haven't played Pal World yet because I want to wait until it kind of reaches a more stable and good state. Even though I'm sure it is already in a really good state right now. Like, people are playing it like crazy. Everyone loves that game, so it must be good. Something I was going to show earlier is that I want this little section right here to connect over to the farm. So I need to make sure that this lines up perfectly. I'm going to go ahead and copy. I'm going to copy this because this will help guide me for how far up this needs to go. Wow, I got it really close. So really all I need to do is move all of this down by 1. There we go. So to clarify what I did is that I want this to be a mirage over here. And actually, I think that the high cliff needs to go down by 1. No, actually, it doesn't. No, it just looks like this. I think that since it's so narrow, I'm gonna move it all over. And I'm gonna make this section wider. Like that, maybe? Oh, now this looks a little bit too open. I can fix that later. What software is that? This is tiled. I'm sorry that I'm missing some messages. Power World is more fun than the Legends. Sorry, I missed that message. But it's not better than the mainline Pokemon games. Yeah, I could see differing opinions on that. Because is this a hot take that my favorite game in the series? I love Legends Arceus. I think that Legends Arceus is my favorite Pokemon game. I really, really like what they did with it. I like that they simplified the combat. I like that they took out a lot of the bloat. I like that they removed a bunch of attacks. I like how simple it is to catch Pokemon and how everything is so quick and open. I really like Legends Arceus. I like it more than Scarlet and Violet. Even if Scarlet and Violet was functional, I would still like Legends Arceus more. So, yeah, is that a hot take that I like that game a lot? Oh god, lol. Yeah, maybe it is. I mean, the bar is very low with Scarlet and Violet. I mean, you're right. Well, what I mean is that I like Scarlet and Violet, even though it was performant. It was not performant. Not a hot take. The right take in Scarlet and Violet, it was a huge step back. Yeah, I don't know if I would call it a huge step back, but I like the simplicity of Arceus more. And definitely it was a step back in terms of performance. Oh my god. I was shocked. I could not believe what I was seeing when Scarlet and Violet came out. But I still had fun with it, regardless. What was bad about Scarlet and Violet? Oh, when they came out, the performance of them was very bad. It was very noticeable. It was the most noteworthy problem with the game is that it was super laggy. It chugged. It was not good. It was a very, very poor experience when the game launched. And really, I think it was a poor experience up until Switch 2 came out, as far as I know. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they made it a little bit better with the patches. Memory leak issue. Also, nice Clippy. I appreciate the Clippy. I appreciate the Clippy profile picture. I've never played a Nintendo game. Oh, I would recommend Nintendo games. I think they're fun. I thought Nintendo always polished their games. Nintendo does. Game Freak apparently doesn't. Or really what I think happened is that there was like time constraints and they were forced to release it because of the time constraints. Maybe Game Freak wanted to give it another year, but then Nintendo or the Pokemon Company forced them to release it. I don't know what happened, but it wasn't developed by Nintendo. It was made by Game Freak. And Scarlet and Violet could have learned from Legends Arceus and vice versa. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Yeah, that's really good at phrasing it. I can see with Legends Arceus, people might not like that they took out a lot of mechanics, because they took out like abilities, or did they? They took out a lot of like core features to the Pokemon franchise, and they took out a lot of attacks, and the mechanics are super simplified. But in my opinion, I like that. I like the simplified format. And that's coming from someone that I used to play Pokemon competitively, but I like the simplified format of Legends. I prefer it. So now that I have this like general format of, oh, I forgot to put up the Mirage. So the way the Mirage works is you can put a Mirage layer anywhere. So like over in here, I have a Mirage layer. It goes below medium. Add Mirage. And then the way the Mirages works is I'm going to put this over top. So I go to Mirage, and then I just do this. And it might... That looks okay. So this is meant to be a secret wall that will get removed after a certain event. It's going to create a shortcut. Because by default, you have to swim through the waterfall to get into this area, and then after doing something, this little Mirage section will open up, which connects back to, where is it? The farm. It connects back to here. What is a Mirage? Yeah, it's just a layer that's fake. It's a layer that's meant to be removed later on. And I use that in a few cases. I use that over here in this map, actually, in the entrance, and I can show this real quick. So, if you look, it's so ugly because of all these dumb blocks and stuff. But I have this gate here, and it's closed by default. But the way that it opens up is by using a Mirage layer. So the Mirage is just the door, and then when the Mirage gets cleared, it just removes that layer entirely. So in the game, when the Mirage gets cleared, it does this. It just like flips open by removing that layer that was over top. It's just a fake wall, like Cooper said. I like Pokemon Yellow. I love Pokemon Yellow. In fact, I own it. I think that you can see it. It's where my glasses are. Right there. Right there. I love Pokemon Yellow. I know some 2D platformers that do this. I think the new Super Mario Wii. Yeah, I believe it. So back to... Oh, wait. I need to undo that. So back to the graveyard. That's how the Mirage is going to be set up. And in fact, also with the walls, the wall can also be classified as a Mirage. So I'll be putting a wall right here. And I'm going to actually label it as Mirage, because that's how it works in the entrance too. Oh, wait, no, that's not how it works. That's not how it works at all. It instead has a Mirage property. So I'm gonna do the same thing. You don't name it Mirage. You give it a custom property, Mirage. Because you can have multiple Mirages, that's why it has a value. It says Mirage 1. It's very small, I'm sorry about that. But it says Mirage 1. You can have any number of Mirages, like I could call it Mirage 27. And as long as the 27th Mirage is cleared, that's what this wall is attached to. I recently played through U Deluxe and it was really fun. Cool, nice. Never been a fan of Gen 1, not gonna lie. I can understand that. It's really clunky and weird. But I love the jank of it. It feels very nostalgic for me. I think yellow is the most approachable one because the sprites for the Pokemon look actually good. You guys should look up the original Pokemon sprites for like Pokemon Green. They look really weird. They're funny. So back to terrain, and I'm going to, what the heck? I'm back to putting in more of these like just little accent grasses. And, you know, maybe I should think ahead to how this should be organized, because I do want this to be a cemetery with, like, gravestones. I think that this is okay. I'm just adding texture. It's better than nothing. So right now I'm using a terrain brush. The way that this terrain brush works is if I go over to the terrain and zoom in, you can see all these different like tile sets. So right now I'm working with this tile set where it's like this dark grass sort of setup, and the brush is able to identify like what part we're at, which tile it's best used at each individual portion. So it really speeds things up with like designing these textured parts. We'll have Necrozone's grave. Ooh, interesting. I could do something like that. That's an interesting idea. I think it would be cool if Necrozone was like a secret area, or some place that you could go in Moonshire. I was thinking about doing something like that. I think that this is okay. Pokemon Company is just trying to rush putting 2 or 3 games out per year, so they're all mid. Yeah, recently they haven't been doing that, right? Have they put out anything in the past couple of years since Scarlet and Violet? What is Necrozone? Necrozone's a game I made. It's on necrozone.com. It's still a really old version, or it's a unfinished version that's on the website. But if you want to check it out, it's a mobile game. It'll get back on mobile soon. Oh, my hair's falling flat. I've been so itchy. My nose is itchy. Okay. So back to this. I like adding texture on the upper portion as well. I'll go ahead and do that. Normally I wait until later in the process just because you never know how the layout's gonna change, but I'll go ahead and put it in since we're just chilling. If you count mobile games, oh yeah, I guess that's true. They probably did put out plenty of stuff. Yeah, I got the impression that they were kind of waiting things out until Switch 2 came out, which probably was the right move. Fuse fire torch and sword to fire sword. Ooh, that's an interesting idea. I showed that off in in a video a while ago where you could like burn your sword or like superheat it. It was a superheat spell where you could superheat your sword and then it would burn enemies. I think that something like that would be awesome. Or maybe I was thinking of a specific weapon that's like a warhammer, a fiery warhammer, and when you hit people with the warhammer, it burns them. Back for a minute. Hi, welcome. Or make ability to sell weapons. It's not that type of game. Yeah, there's not really an inventory where you collect weapons. It's more like weapons are disposable, and you just have whatever you want. You can use whatever you want. You can only carry one weapon with you at a time, but you can change between them freely. Okay, the next, before I do anything else, I really should test this map to make sure it's functional. So let's go ahead and get that there, and then I need to add a debug for this. Debug. I need to add. I'm gonna put it next to farm. A3 graveyard. And then there we go. So now if we teleport there to graveyard, oh, it did not work. Load map, 425. Oh, D-pin. I forgot that I did this. So I changed it a while back where every map has a default pin. Yeah, look at this. Every map has a pin somewhere in it that is the default point. And I did not put one here. So let's go ahead and put one here. I'll put the default point right here. And we'll go ahead and export this. How I did swimming. Yeah, swimming is kind of a unique feature of this game where you can like cross little sections. The way it works is the player is constantly checking to see what is at the player's feet. And if there is water at the player's feet, then the player will enter this like swimming state. But you can only swim for a few seconds before you drown, unless you have a specific item. But I like this feature a lot because it leads to cool scenarios like this where you have to cross this little section and you can barely make it, but you can make it. And if you roll, you can make it faster. So I love the swimming mechanic, and it opens up the world to cool level design options. And yeah, the answer to your question is it really is that in the map, there's a water layer. And you can see that I've drawn like little rectangles and triangles over top the water sections. And the player character literally is just checking at his feet and checking to see, is there any of these rectangles at my feet? Or any of these triangles? And if there is, then the player goes into that swimming state. There's not a way for me to show it, but that's just what's happening. These invisible rectangles are over top the water sections, and that just changes the player's state depending on where it is. Never realized Shallowcade invented swimming. Yep, I did it. It was all me. All manually created. Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. That's the problem. So there are a few options that I could do with that, like Wolf's saying. I could make it so that the game is able to intelligently tell whenever there is a water tile. Whenever there's a water tile, we're going to also spawn this like water identifier over top of it. Or you know, like maybe you could just check what tile you're on. That would be an option. But the problem with it is that not all tiles are made equally. Like, look at this tile here, this corner piece. This corner piece has a slight sliver that's different from this corner piece, which is different from the full pieces, which is different from, like, these top portions, which is different from the bottom portions. So all of them are different. I would have to have a unique mapping for each individual tile, and that might be more work than what it's worth. So that's kind of why it's a manual process, is trying to automate it. I don't know if that would work out. Plus, then there's some like unique scenarios where maybe I wouldn't want the water tile to cause the player to sink. I can't think of what that would be, but if that was the case, I would have to like make an exception, and that might cause more problems than it's worth, you know, in general. And tile inequality. Yeah, there is tile inequality throughout my game. I hate to say it. Sometimes it's just the way it goes. Like swallow water. Swallow water. I don't know what you mean by that. But that process of drawing all these water tiles in there is what I'm going to have to do in this new map. So, like, when I draw all the water, it literally will be, like, I'm going to draw a big water rectangle right here. It goes right there. And I'll probably draw another one that goes right here. And then another rectangle that goes right here. One here. One here. And then now I need to draw polys, or triangles. So that's going to look like this. Where? Oh, here it is. You just draw a triangle like that. And this is a time-consuming process, which is perfect for stream. Like, this is why level design really is a good task for stream, because, whoops. because there really are a lot of mundane, annoying tasks to do. And when I'm reading chat, it's a lot harder for me to focus on anything. But again, this is normally a process that I go through at the end, especially with like these corner pieces. This is very detailed. That's not it's not really necessary to get this detailed with the outlines and stuff. But now this water section is made, and I can export it. And now in the game, if I warp there, I shouldn't have to restart either. Oops, wrong one. We are in the new map, and it looks like it's fully functional. I should be able to swim in here. Why didn't that work? Why am I not able to swim? Did it not export properly? Maybe I do need to restart. He's like, Jesus? Yeah, exactly. If you guys haven't listened to the soundtrack for Mario Kart World, you really should. It's so good. Okay, it's back. I just didn't export it. So we got working water. Oh yeah, and now we're back in Jesus mode up in here. But this is a really good start to this map. It's the general format that I was wanting it to be. At this point, I'm gonna be putting like the dead trees and the the headstones all around. I'll need to organize this probably a little bit better. The other thing I'm thinking is that since it's a cemetery, it might be better to have dirt around here. Maybe I can have dirt rather than this dark grass. So that's something to consider too. I think I'm going to start with the trees. So I have some dead trees already in my game. Let's see if I can find them. It's under environment, I think. I need to reorganize my sprites really badly. But yeah, I have a tree type called dead. So I think I can go to plants and drop in a pin. Let's put it right here to start, or I'll put it right here. Tree dead. And let's make sure that that shows up. Why did it show up? Did it? I think that I must have changed how my maps work, because it's caching all of the maps in memory now. It didn't used to do that. Yeah, I have to restart my game now to get these showing up. It didn't used to be the case. I used to be able to update the map and then play the game with those updates without having to restart the game, but I guess that's changed. Do I find it hard distracting to code while streaming? Yeah, completely. I would say I'm not efficient or productive at all when I'm streaming. I'd say that these streams are just for fun. They are for communicating with the audience, for answering questions, and because I think it's fun. I genuinely like doing this. It's good for networking too. I think it's a good vibes. Good vibes all around. But yeah, it's not productive. Like if I was on my own coding, I would be getting a lot more done, because I'm taking a lot of time to just stop and chat and answer questions and all sorts of stuff. So yeah. I like seeing you make maps and sprites. Coding is boring. Thank you. Well, yeah, I mean, I also think coding is boring to watch unless I'm like really actively testing it and showing you the step-by-step process. Because when I'm just staring at walls of code like this, I'm totally with you. It is not very fun just to look at text. It's more fun, though, when I'm coding something and then testing it back and forth, because then you can see what changes and you can see the iterative process of bringing something to life. When it's just me making tweaks to code and you're not really able to visually see what that code tweak is doing, I'm with you. It is kind of boring. So that's good feedback, actually. Doing level design on stream is a lot less boring visually because there's stuff just on screen going on. But then on top of it, I am actually getting stuff done because this is something I wanted to do either way. And I'm able to do it while I'm talking and stuff without it being too distracting. Sometimes it's interesting. I think sometimes it is. But it's mostly interesting when I can demonstrate what the code does. Because a lot of the time I do go on tangents where I'm talking about like code fundamentally, like how I think that this line is bad. I shouldn't be doing like a hard code check that like this is bad practice. But that's not really fun to talk about. It's more fun to talk about like I'm going to change this, and when I run the game, it's going to do something special. I think that coding can be interesting when you actually see the output. How's my cat? She's good. Thank you for asking. Which tile editor do I use? I use Tiled. Tiled is what I use. Why not put the sprites on the map and you can put pins on them? The reason why... So what you're saying is that I could put a sprite, attach a sprite to each of these pins so that visually I'd be able to see what they look like. The reason I don't do that is because it still wouldn't be representative of what the real game looks like. The real game has post-processing. It's changing the colors, there's light sources, and also these are not sprites, these are multiple sprites. Like these grass particles, the grass is not one single sprite, it is multiple sprites stacked on top of each other. So it's not so simple just to import a sprite to see what it looks like. My code is doing a lot of work, a lot of heavy lifting to make everything look proper, and I would have to duplicate that same logic into Tile in order for it to look the same. What coding language? It's called Lua, is what I use. How am I doing? I'm doing good, thank you for asking. I'm just doing a bunch of level design stuff today. Have I intaked the Elixir of Life yet? I had not. Thank you for the reminder. Ooh, that's some good elixir. So back to this. I want to start putting in... Well, I was putting in these tree deads. Let's put in more of these. The other thing I want to put in is you can set the property fake. And I can set a boolean fake on these trees, and then that means that they won't have any physics. This is important, and I'll show you in a second. So I put a few dead trees up and around. These ones up on the cliff will not have physics. So if I export this, and I guess I have to restart the game completely. You heard Lua has no classes, is that true? Yep, that's true. If you want to use object-oriented programming or classes or inheritance or anything like that, you have to use tables, and tables are so broadly powerful and so versatile and flexible, you can code tables to act like classes. And that's what I do in my game. My game is still object-oriented to a degree, but I do it using Lua's tables because tables can behave similar to classes. But it's its own thing. So you shall be one day further from becoming a mummy. That is good. I'm glad that my elixir does that for me. But what I was talking about with the physics is if I turn on physics colliders, you'll see that the player has collision. This tree has collision. I can't walk through this tree, right? Because it has collision. But these trees up on the cliffside, these do not have collision. And that's because I gave them the fake property. I gave them a property up here called fake. And when it's fake, that means it has no collision. You can walk straight through it. And the reason why I do that is because these cliffs are going to have walls that prevent you from going up on them. So if I go over to walls, I can add these walls all up along the side of this. And that's what I'm going to do. Actually, I'm going to spread this out. First Moonshire Monday, I'm happy to hear that. So it's just buffed and renamed class. It's a lot more than that. It's every data structure combined into one. So in a programming language like Java or C# or C++, you're going to have lots of data structures. You're going to have things like a queue or a list or a dictionary, or there's so many of them. And classes and objects and I don't know. There's graphs. You could name off any sort of coding data structure that exists, and there's a specific data structure in Java that supports that. There's a queue data structure. There is a stack data structure, and you use it like that. But Lua doesn't have any of those. It doesn't have any classes or objects or stacks or queues or anything. It just has tables. That's it. But tables are so strong and powerful and versatile that you can use them out of the box like a dictionary, where you set the key as a string and then the string key stores an object in the list. Or you can treat it as an array. Yeah, there's no arrays in Lua. There's no arrays at all. You just have tables. You can treat it as an array, though, the same syntax as C++ or C#. Like here, I'm using an array. It's using a key value pairing, and it's plugging the, it's using it like an array. But this is a table. A tree is just a table. You can see up at the top, the tree is being initialized as an empty table, because that's just what everything in Lua is. Everything's a table. You give it properties as if it was an object. I give it a class property, but there's no such thing as a class. There's just tables. It's all tables. Fake sounds like it doesn't deserve it. Yeah, these trees, they don't even deserve their physics. But I wanted to demonstrate why they don't have physics by putting in all these walls real quick. Did I start with Love2D? No, I actually started with GameMaker. GameMaker is older than a lot of people realize. I don't know when it came out, but when I started in it was probably 2007, 2008. Maybe it was probably 2007. Because I was in 4th grade. I remember very, very clearly I was in 4th grade. My dad got me, or I got Nintendo Power magazine, and there was an ad in Nintendo Power that was for GameMaker. And I asked my dad to get it for me. And it was already old at that point. Like, GameMaker was already on GameMaker 7 when I started using it in 2007. So I imagine GameMaker's been around for so long. A lot of people, you can just stop there. I mean, yeah, you're right. It is older than a lot of people. It's almost, well, let's look it up. Let's look up how old is GameMaker. I'm going to use Chrome because Edge has been crashing on me lately. When did GameMaker come out? 1999? $1999. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe I didn't know it was that old. So, GameMaker came out in 1999. I started using it in 2007, and it was already really old when I started using it. And now it's like really old. It's like older than a lot of people in the audience. So that's pretty strange. But it's still strong. It's still really good. And it's gone through so many iterations. Look, it started as something called Animo. I'd never even heard of that. It became GameMaker Studio. I remember that. I was not using it. In fact, I would say I stopped using it when GameMaker Studio came out. I think is when I stopped using it. Sorry, my phone was ringing. Had to respond to a quick message real quick. Sorry, my mom called me, and I love my mom. I have to let her know. Okay, but that's okay. I'll be wrapping up in about 8 minutes, so that should work out just fine. I'm older than GameMaker. Yeah, I'm older than GameMaker too. Yeah, I was born in '96, so I'm a little bit older, but not by very much. Not by very much at all. I hate using interface and usually opt for composition because my 8 brain, whatever works for you, my bro. Enjoy your dinner. I hope that you enjoy yours, or whatever it is that you're up to today. I had to use it in computer science class 1. Didn't like it. Didn't like what specifically. I mean, yeah, we were talking about data structures, I think. There's a lot to it. There's so many to know. 92 here. Yeah, it's awesome. I'm happy to see so many people are joining the stream. Really do appreciate that. Oh yeah, so now that the walls are in place, I was going to show off that when you export, and then we're just going to go ahead and run the game again. How much progress did I make on making levels? I would say not very much, but enough, because I was able to get this map created. I just made one map, so everything in this map is what I did this stream. I would not say it was super productive, but I did want to get this at least open and ready, so it has that going for it. So what I was going to say is that the reason why these trees up here are fake is because there's walls. You can't climb up the cliffs. These are physical barriers, and having any wall, having any physical barrier like this, it requires processing, because every frame, the game has to calculate all of this physics stuff. So if these trees up here are completely, like, you can't even get to them, there's no point for them to have physics like these trees down here, like these ones down here do. If these had physics up here that you couldn't reach, it would be completely pointless. It would be a waste of processing. Love my content, keep it up, thank you, appreciate that. Didn't like both Game Maker and that class. Oh, I see. Yeah, Game Maker might not be for everyone. It's a drag and drop sort of coding thing, so it's very approachable. But it does have a learning curve, because if you're used to a different engine, the skills won't transfer one-to-one. But I do like Game Maker because it teaches you a lot of good fundamentals. The skills from Game Maker do transfer, but it is still very different because, you know, it's the drag and drop coding. It's not like most other stuff. I always fun talking about Pong and AI. I mean, those are my two favorite topics, aren't they? Pong and AI. Yeah, I really do like talking about that stuff. How big is the team working on Moonshire? It's just me, but I do commission some extra help with some specific sprites. So I like, Wolf helps me with testing, and I commission Tony for some of the menu sprites, and Ellie for some of the character sprites, and I have some help with illustration. So there are some other people that I commission for help, but it is just me being the only person doing it. Ever since China bought Game Maker, I kind of distanced myself from it. I didn't know China bought Game Maker. I didn't realize that. Let's look more into that too. Who owns Game Maker? I thought Yo-Yo Game does. Oh, Yo-Yo Games is owned by Opera. Who owns Opera? Who owns Opera? Otello is Hong Kong Kunlun Tech Holding Limited. Yeah, it's Hong Kong based. Oh no, Opera is Norwegian, but it's owned by Hong Kong. Okay, so it is owned by a Hong Kong based company. I wasn't aware of that. A whole country bought a game engine. Yeah, I hear that a lot with political discussions or international business discussions, where it's like the U.S. implemented these rules, or the U.S. bought this, or X country bought this. It's like, yeah, it's not really that. It's like a representative from that country, or in this case, it's just literally a private entity within the country of China. But I guess since China is kind of like, I don't want to get into that. You know, I don't know anything about any of that stuff. Love the Nordic Peninsula. Nice, cool. Is Lefty beginner friendly, or have people less coding experience? I mean, I would say it's not as approachable as something like Game Maker. Game Maker is very approachable because you do not use coding for it, or you don't need to. It's like drag and drop logic. It's pretty easy to get into. Something like Love2D has a bit more of a learning curve because you're using code. You have to learn like what some of the stuff means, and that can be tricky. But yeah, you know, long story short, I'd say that Love2D in general is harder to use compared to a game engine like Game Maker or Unity or Godot. I think that those are going to be generally more approachable, but in the long term, especially if you have any coding experience, I think Love2D will sit right with a lot of people. It did for me, because when I was researching all these engines, I tried out Unity and Godot and all that stuff, and well, not Godot. Godot wasn't out at the time. Unreal. And I liked them, but when I used Love2D and Lua, it really clicked with me. And I can't really explain that very much other than I liked it. Programming is absolutely an amazing skill to have all these days. Yeah, I agree. People might disagree because AI is kind of infringing on that, but I don't think that's the case. Knowing how to program is going to be as valuable a skill in the future as it is today. Because even if AI can do tasks for you, having your understanding of the code is, man, I tell you what, it's night and day difference for me. If I didn't understand the code I was writing and I was just relying on some like tool or agent to do it for me, it would not work out. It would not work out. Coding is a very valuable skill, and I promise it will always be valuable. Even though it's going to be supplemented with other tools, your knowledge is going to go far. I think it's worth learning always. There's no room editor like in GameMaker. No, there's not. Instead, what you use a third-party tool. I downloaded this external tool called Tiled, and I design all my levels in Tiled, and then I import them using code into the game, and then the game renders all that information. And it's like that's the whole pipeline. Yeah, it's not all built in. So the nice part about GameMaker is that it has everything built into it. But the bad part about GameMaker is that it's like a whole big program. Everything is baked in. You have to use all of the GameMaker specific stuff. All of it is like GameMaker tuned, which is good and bad. It's very proprietary. That's what makes it like, it's good, but Love2D is good too because you can use your own set of tools. It's very flexible. GameMaker is not very flexible because it forces you to use all of its own tools, or not forces, it's integrated with its own tools, whereas this is more free. AI can never say hello world like I do. I completely agree. The way you do it is way different. I'm totally with you. Well, on that note, I'm going to call it quits for the day. It was a really, really good stream. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate all of you guys stopping by. And I will be back next week. Thank you to Bellcat and Cooper and Noober, Smiling Owl, Wolf and Box and Yvonne, Zach, Blob, Jeff, Liam. Thank you so much for being here. I really, really do appreciate all the support. It's been super, super nice having you all here. Adele, Penguin, Turkey Blocks, Foxite. I will be back next week for yet another Moonshire Monday. Bye, everyone. Thank you.